West Bank and Jordan Valley if they support or oppose the Trump administration peace plan. Now, some 33% said they were likely to support it, while 23%, you see here, said they would definitely support the plan. In comparison, some 21% said they would definitely oppose the plan, and another 16% said they would likely oppose it, given the varying degrees of feelings on that subject. Now, we're again in the studio here with Danny Ayalon, former Israeli Deputy Foreign Minister and Ambassador to the United States, and Matan Donsker, the International Director of Direct Polls here, conducting these surveys, bringing us these numbers. Thanks for bringing us these figures to add to our discussion and for joining us here. First of all, Matan, come to you on these polls, on these numbers. Are they definitive? What do they say? What do these results say to you?
Well, I think what we're seeing here is basically a battle between two identities that are living in the heart of Judea and Samaria and the Jordan Valley. And in a way, it's a microcosmos of the argument that we've had throughout Zionism for more than 100 years. The pragmatic political side of the deal, saying basically you take what you can step by step and then live with the ramifications, and the hardcore ideologic aspect of it, people who are saying no to compromise, we'll go with a long stream of ideology and hopefully achieve our agenda.
And stay with us. I'm going to bring in the next question too, to get your thoughts and discussion on this. But on the Trump peace plan, now notably, the survey respondents were also asked how they would compare it to other plans over the years. Now, 35% said the plan was good but not perfect. 28% called the plan terrible and say it must be opposed. Now, 20% say the Trump vision is the best possible plan yet presented. Well, just 9% say that despite being a bad plan, they could live with it. To bring that also, these figures into perspective here, we're talking about the Trump plan, obviously a little different than unilateral annexation, but in the same context, where do those numbers leave you looking at the sentiments around the West Bank?
Look, one of the things we're trying to look in direct polls is about the political ramifications of these numbers. And obviously, these numbers are problematic for the Prime Minister for a very simple reason. Politics is not always dominated, unfortunately or fortunately, by majorities. It's dominated by strong lobbies and people who have the center of power. In the Likud, for instance, and it's not just my opinion, we see it day by day, the minority actually who oppose the deal is much more stronger than, say, the camp led by Oded Ravivi in Efrat who supports it. So these are complicated numbers for the Prime Minister. And again, we see the settlers are a much more divided, part of a whole brand of identity politics people than many of us would think on a daily basis.
And Ambassador Ayalon, looking at these numbers, do they compel you to believe that there is enough support behind this to actually get it done by the Prime Minister?
Oh, the general population support is there. It's just a matter of leadership. And it is right that sometimes a vociferous, tiny minority can wag the dog as the tail. But I think that everybody understands here that this is the plan. None will be better, and no president and no administration will be more supportive than Trump's. So it is unfortunate that we see some resistance there among this minority. But I think at this point, what really will be mostly very decisive is the results of the elections in November in the United States, because if Trump gets a second term, then you really have the scope to effect this plan for in the next four years, because the plan also, which calls for a 4-year negotiation period, and if the Palestinians do not step up to the plate, then I believe the Trump administration will support a unilateral step by Israel.
Well, it's a key point you bring up here, and that leads to the next question here, notably, that we want to bring up from the survey also there, that Jewish residents of the West Bank and Jordan Valley were asked to predict who will win the U.S. presidential election this year. Now, starting with that, 25% said Donald Trump, compared to 14% who went with Joe Biden. Although, as you can tell by the numbers, the majority said they don't know. But, of course, interestingly, they were also asked how confident they were that if Trump lost in November, that existing agreements would be honored by the Biden administration. Only 30% here said they now fear that these agreements would not be honored, versus 25% who said they believe they would. 19% that said that they were certain that the agreements would not be honored, while only 8% expressed confidence that they would be upheld here. Now, Matana, on these numbers here, does it seem pretty clear that the population, at least surveyed here, isn't very optimistic about relations between Israel and the Democratic Party? I mean, is that where we go with these numbers?
Absolutely. I mean, Israel, it's already a fact, has become basically a bipartisan issue in America, an extremely complicated fact, given the fact that in a few months from now, we can have a different president and the policies can change. But I think what the people who have spoken in this poll are indicating is more wishful thinking than an analysis of American politics. What they're saying by supporting Donald Trump, by saying that Donald Trump will win, is that they are overwhelmingly supportive of Donald Trump. They're not sensitive to the inner political questions that are bringing America apart. They're not listening to identity politics. What they're interested is the Israeli interest, and in that they feel like Donald Trump has our back, and that's what they're indicating in this poll.
It's a good point to make there, that the Israelis are making these decisions. You're right. It's not about U.S. domestic issues. This is very much about Israeli policy, foreign policy. Ambassador Ayalon, you were touching on this just a minute ago about the potentially very real issues facing Israel in relation to the Democratic Party. How serious is that?
Oh, it's very serious. It's very serious. I've never seen such... I mean, you can see it within the context of a strong polarization in the United States between Republicans and Democrats on any issue. Unfortunately, Israel has found itself in this line of fire between two sides of the aisle, as we were always a bipartisan, no more. A lot will depend on the VP that Biden will elect, and then we'll know whether he's going more towards the Barack Obama attitude or more a centrist attitude. But it seems like the progressive elements, the radical left in the Democratic Party is trying to take over. And although Bernie Sanders did not win, but he has a major voice over there. And if Biden is elected, certainly Israel will face a totally different environment and atmosphere in Washington, D.C. And as to the question whether Biden administration will honor Trump's plan, no way. I can tell you we have an experience. In 2004, President Bush, 43, gave then Prime Minister Sharon a letter of commitment recognizing the Israel's sovereignty over the major Jewish blocs in Judea and Samaria. And Barack Obama came, none of this was on the table.
Yeah, good points. And this week as well, with these congressional and Senate letters being circulated by Democrats, basically alluding to the fact that relations could be harmed by any unilateral moves here. Ambassador Ayalon, thanks for your thoughts here so far. And Matan Donsker of Direct Polls, I appreciate you both coming into the discussion.